So thank you so much for coming and spending Friday night with us. It's been already a lot of very serious talk. So now we're gonna have some fun, and I will share some super embarrassing facts about me. Couple of questions before we go. So who is the first time at the FuckUp night session? Please raise your hand. Okay, great. So I'll have a chance for a proper introduction now. So, my name is Maria. I'm a content marketer and a public speaker, and recently an events organizer. 1 year ago, I brought the FuckUp Nights concept to Cyprus, and actually FuckUp Nights is a global movement and series of events where we invite on stage industry leaders to share their failure stories. And this movement, it happens in more than 260 cities around the world every year. So when we have FuckUp Nights in Limassol, one might be happening in Dubai, Milan, London, and all around the world. And to better introduce myself even more and make a small warm-up before I invite our speakers on stage, I want to share some failure stories that I've done at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. So, I've always had this entrepreneurial mindset where I would say something like, okay, I can put all my money into my ideas and see how it works. So it doesn't really work, it works only in dreams. But so, FuckUp number 1, the monetization genius. I have always been into books and I really loved reading, so I decided to build a huge website where I would read books and write reviews for money. So I spent around 1 year building the website, investing a lot of money on that, and after 6 months, I ended up being in my room, piled up with like hundreds of books with really weird stories. So one book that really surprised me was about like erotic romance about senior people. The other was someone like aliens making love during like the apocalypses. And I had to read all these 1,000-page books. So at some point I realized that not all your ideas have to be monetized. And when you free your mind for some new ideas, they just like pop in, and I got another genius idea, which is all about glitter, postcards, and timing. So I decided to invest a couple of my salaries into bringing 10,000 copies of postcards, Christmas postcards, that I would make like super valuable and handcrafted, because I would spend around 3 months decorating with glitter all these copies by my hands. So by the time I finished producing all these postcards, it was already March, and this idea never worked out. For 10 years already, I have these postcards in my parents' house. Thank you so much. And the bonus round for like really embarrassing stories. So I lost 8 phones 8 years in a row. I fell asleep at the airport gate and missed my flight. And I also ate 3 large pizzas in one round, betting on money. And I felt sick for 3 days after that, but I bought a new designer bag, so I think that was totally worth it. And now, done with the bullshit stories, let's invite on stage people who have done real impact and who have real fuck-up stories to share. And before we move to the first speaker, I invite you to ask your questions by this QR code, and then we'll sit for a panel discussion to discuss all your questions together with our lineup of speakers. So, the first one I invite on stage is Tom Borgerdin. He's the co-founder of Unity Growth. And when we were discussing with him his story, he said, like, Maria, is it okay if I share a lot of pain? So if you're ready for pain, the stage is yours.
Thank you. So one of my favorite things to do is so I do a lot of business coaching now. One of the things I enjoy doing is helping people not do what I did. And so I've got a variety of those stories, as any founder likely would have, but I've got a couple of them that I'll share with you. One in particular, let me see if I can figure this out. So one of the beauties of this is I don't have to show you numbers. We can talk numbers if you have questions, but when I was first starting my company, which was a company called Future Pages, in 1996, if that starts to date me at all, I was still in college, graduating. It was my first full-time job, never applied for a job. In 1997, 98, 99, we were really starting to grow our business. Like any new business, we were starting to get a little momentum, pivoting as we wanted to, or as we could, to try to find a market. What was happening, 1999, 2000, 2001, the dot-com boom was happening, right? So there were billions and billions of dollars going into startups. We wanted to get on board of this, so we wanted to catch this wave. We wanted to start figuring out how to actually start landing some of this business. So up to this point, we were working with online advertising. We were really we ran some of the first online ads of any company in our space. We were focusing on the college market. And so we were really excited about catching this wave. And so we did. We actually caught our first .com. Through previous experiences, we learned that if we're going to take on one of these businesses that are high risk, we also knew that they could go out of business relatively quick. So we're like, we're going to put all of these companies that we work with on prepay. We won't do anything for them until they pay us. Until that they called me and said, hey, can I have an extra day? And then that turned into 2 days, which turned into 3 days, which turned into, oh no. They went out of business, left me holding the bag of $250,000 in advertising that they purchased from us. Okay, so we were running about $500,000 total as a company. We just had one client go out of business for $250,000. We were making about a 20% margin. If you do the math on that, there was literally no way we could come back. We were guaranteeing payments to our vendors. So if we're making $250,000, we make about $50,000 on a $250,000 order. We were guaranteeing $250,000 in payments, so we had $200,000. We maybe received half of that. So we had $125,000 we were still on the hook for. We went through this whole process of trying to clean up after this hurricane came through. We were starting to hire. We tried to let go of as many people as we could, renegotiated with all of our vendors, in which cases some of them were like, there's no way we're letting you off the hook. And the other ones were like, okay, if you prepay, so now we're on prepay for all of our other clients, which put us into a cash flow crisis, which put us into, if you're familiar with the idea of factoring, we started selling our invoicing so that we could actually get a little bit of money. So we were giving up to get the cash in the door 2 weeks early, a week earlier, 2 weeks earlier. We were selling our receivables for 10%. And if you put that into perspective, we were making 15 to 20%. We're basically giving away all of our profit to try to cash flow. My business partner, who's the founder of the company, by 2002 is like, I'm out. I'm tapping out. And me as a sales guy, I was out there still selling, right? I'm looking for a way, in my naivety, I'm still out there selling, and I'm trying to find the new revenue streams for this business. But he's like, I'm done. I'm out. We negotiate a deal. He takes a job with his dad he's still actually running that company, took over for his dad. I bought the assets of the company, and so and 6 months later, I actually landed $1 million client. Less than maybe 3 months after actually closing the deal, we actually landed our first $1 million client. But literally put me out of business because we didn't know how to actually, let me put it this way. my biggest learning out of this is if you get to a point that you have to pull the plug on something, and this means not doing the work for a client, and it starts to fall outside of your contract, how you're doing stuff, your agreement that you've set up, you got to have the backbone to be able to pull the plug. It was, my business partner, I was his best man in his wedding. When he rotated out, like, conversations became, farther apart. I still miss that relationship. He and I are still friends. If we see each other, we have no qualms or issues or anything along those lines. But certainly, this is a guy I spent a lot of time with. Spent a lot of years running with this guy, literally on foot between office hours and just hanging out. But yeah, I mean, literally, they got caught in this wave and had no idea what to do. It was literal panic the day we figured out that this wasn't happening. Filed the lawsuit to see if there were any assets. There wasn't anything there. Ruined a reputation for a long time. So that's the main stuff. What do we got? You guys want to hear other ones? How much time do I have? All the time in my life. Let's see. I fired my best friend, not that guy, not the same guy. I had a stockholder, a shareholder who came to me after I was running the company for a while. He came to me and goes, "Hey, I think you need outside counsel." And this guy was like, decent investor, good business guy, CEO of a $50 or $75 million company, came to me and goes, "You need somebody, anybody." And me in my 20s decided, like, I still knew everything, right? My cape still fit. My superhero cape still worked. And so I joined a group called Vistage International. And if you don't know Vistage, it's probably the largest CEO group in the world. And in the United States, it's probably the most expensive one. And I didn't join it because of that. I went to a day, they had somebody come in teaching on personality profiles and making sure that they're a good fit for your company and understanding kind of how they work. So, again, guy, probably my best friend, hanging out all the time, played beach volleyball for years together, probably a decade or more, 10, 15 years. Got to probably my mid-30s and joined this group. The group finally comes, we do this personality profile, somebody teaching on it, she comes in. I'm like, "Hey, I'd like to learn more about my company." And I got about 12 people in the company at this time. Not a lot. And I got this guy, and he's handling all my operations and my technology development. And he's doing a lot of that work. And so what we learned out of it was, like, this guy's super patient and doesn't like anybody telling him what to do. And he's super introverted. He's, like, off the scale on introvertedness. So he has no interest in talking to anybody or hearing what they have to say or asking for help. I didn't know it at the time, but he and I got along quite well. But at the end of the day, it's like I learned nobody else in my company liked him. Right? So I put him on a performance plan, to a big surprise to him. And so we're sitting there having a conversation about this. I'm like, "I think you need to be doing something else, anything else." But he held the keys to all my technology. The software development, all of those pieces of the puzzle. Like, he was running the whole thing. And so I'm like, I just can't fire this guy, right? If I'm going to get rid of him, I have to have a whole backup plan for technology, backdoors of what's going on, protect the technology, all this stuff. He had the finances, he had access to all of this stuff. I could turn some of it off, but not all of it. Anyway, so we're having a performance plan. We put him on 30 days, 60 days. I don't want to make this decision, but there's no change. Finally, one day I get my business coach in, and I'm like, "This has to happen." And he's like, "I know. and you're scared to do it. I'm like, absolutely I am. Like, I don't know what kind of impact this is going to have on my relationship with this guy. We've spent so many hours together. He's seen me get married. He's seen me get divorced. He's seen me get married. He's seen my highs. He's seen my lows. He's seen the failure of the company. He went through the failure of the first company before we started the second one. He was one of the founding three of the new company. He saw it skyrocket afterward. He saw, right? So we have this conversation, and we do it the legal way, the way it should be done, not the best way to do for a friendship, where I have my, my coach walk into the meeting with him. We sit down with him, kind of surprise him. It's over. Turn over the keys. And at this point, I've done as much technology backing up and preparation as I can, which is still not good. And I walk out of the room because there's no way I can like emotionally manage this situation. And I can't possibly be talked back into keeping him on, right? Because there's just the situation's not good. So I walk out of there. He walks out 30 minutes later, after all the HR documentation is done, box in hand, walks out of the office, does kind of that walk of shame out of the office, right? And I feel terrible. I like when I'm nervous or I'm scared about something, I'll just laugh like I just did, right? I'm emotional just even talking about the situation. Anyway, so he walks out. We give him an offer, severance package, you know, sign this, waiver. And in the United States, you sign the waiver that says we won't sue you, we won't this, and in exchange, we'll give you this money, right? And you won't talk disparagingly, you won't talk bad about the company, you won't do all of these things in exchange for this check. And so, next conversation is from his lawyer, which there were some additional negotiations there because he was a shareholder, and I pulled all the shares back as well. No, that may have been later. It's been a while. So yeah, he contacts his lawyer, a lawyer contacts me. My lawyer has a conversation with his lawyer. We're negotiating this whole thing. My last conversation to him was through a lawyer. Still breaks my heart, if you can't see that in me now. Just even, and Hess and I have been connecting, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now, right? 3 years. 3 years. And so one of the first things he and I talked about was this idea, like I have this nagging feeling of I need to go back to this guy and apologize. I did not handle this well as a friend. So I looked him up, figured out where he's at on LinkedIn, wrote a handwritten note on a small card which said something to the lines of, I didn't handle that well. I'm sorry it went down that way. I miss your friendship, and I miss the relationship with you. If you choose to, please forgive me. And if you choose to get in touch with me, like, you know how to get a hold of me, right? So I've got the same email address now for like 25 years. And so I've never heard from him. So as sad as it is, I feel terrible about it, but it's still kind of breaks my heart. There's all kinds of other stuff. I mean, those are just 2 things. I mean, every year there's something. We're here for me.
So you've got partners now that we're growing and we're working together very, very nicely.
I don't want to fire a partner. I've been
fire
through
me,
that.
Tom.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have anything else. I mean, I've got other stories. I mean, anybody who's run a business for 25 years has got some stories of not making the right decisions. But I'll leave it at that. We'll hear some other ones.
Woo.
And yeah,
Woo.
go from there.
You have a clicker.
Yeah. There
Thank
go.
you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So your slide for a bit. And now we're moving to the second speaker. It's Rita Anson. Rita is a powerhouse in the investment and startup scene. And Rita is super, super busy from all the things that she's been doing throughout her life, and now she has some great stories to share about her journey. Welcome on stage.
Mr. Green, yeah? So, how is the energy again? Because, thank you, Tom. You have shared all this that was so deep that now the stories that I'm going to say is going to be super stupid. But anyway. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to play the Nordic. You know, Nordics, they are very cold, guys, so we don't show emotions. I'm Spanish originally, so I show. Anyway, I'm Rita Anson. I come from the Nordics, specifically from Norway and from Iceland. And I want to share with you today 2 fuck-up stories as an investor. Because, you know, investors, we are always perfect. We don't have failures. Everything goes well. It's very difficult also to assume that we are doing something wrong, because this goes into the reputation of our investment firm, but also into the reputation in other ecosystems. But nevertheless, so yeah, Nordic Ignite is our investment company. And yeah, living in the Nordics is like living in a freezer, you know, in which sometimes, from time to time, a frozen unicorn comes to the scene. And I'm saying a frozen unicorn because, as you can imagine, in Scandinavia, and especially in Norway and Iceland, I mean, Norway is 5 million people, and Iceland is 350,000 people. So, of course, we are the best per capita. How many unicorns you have? 1. Woo, this is a lot. Yeah, of course, because we are no one there. Anyway, so what I want to tell you today is that sometimes, even if we want to have those unicorns in Scandinavia, we need to look at the warning signs. It's like, you know, we tourists, we come to Cyprus, we go to, I don't know, Paphos, and then there is this jellyfish sign, and we don't care. We just go there because we think it's going to be okay. So with the startups, can be the same. So you need to look at that. Okay, so let's go with the fuck-up number 1, mother-in-law. Okay. My presentation is not going to be just me speaking. I'm going to ask you for advice, especially if the investors that were before were yet here. So we made this Swedish startup, super cool guys. The founder, a professor at a Swedish university, super knowledgeable, have developed this AI solution for recognizing ovarian cancer, health tech, women. We were all ready to deep dive. And then we have the CEO, that was that lady, a young lady, super good, super into the point, and the CFO, super good with numbers, everything. So we are like, wow, this is a dream team. It's perfect, because she has, the professor, all the knowledge, and the other 2 are going to do the rest of the work. Data room, super good. We have several Zooms with them. And you know that moment in which you say, you are watching this Netflix series, and everyone looks like the same? And then we are like, but wait, what is the thing here? And they didn't tell us. She was the mother-in-law of her, because she was married with him. And then we realized, oh gosh, what is going to happen here? Imagine that they divorce. Or imagine that they are together forever. The mother-in-law, imagine the Sunday roast lunch, is going to talk with her saying, sweetie, this month the KPIs has not been very good, but okay, I will serve you the food anyway. So it's going to be like a big drama. So my question to all of you, would you invest in a company in which there is this close family relations? Answers? Yes, no, no? We don't invest. It's a red flag for us to have so much close relation inside a startup, especially when it's early stage, because they are not a big team that we can trust in. It's just the 3 of them, and if the 3 of them fuck up, we fuck up. So the fuck up here was like almost investing, we couldn't invest. Very sadly, because the solution was, as I said, amazing, but they needed to do something with their team. Yeah. So this is one of the fuck-ups. And now number 2. This was horrible. So we are in the Nordic ecosystem. We have a lot of deal flow from several countries, and of course we have a lot of network. So this investor, friend of us, come to us and said, guys, I have this super cool startup. Why you don't look at them and invest on them? And we said, okay, let's look. And we begin to look, okay, promising, great potential. We do the normal due diligence, checkups, and everything. And we invest. 6 months. The CEO called us. Rita, my colleague's name is Sigurjorn and Ragnheidur. They are Icelandics. We are run out of cash. And we are like, what? Run out of cash? Yeah, no runway. We are almost filing for bankruptcy. There is nothing to do. And then we begin to go in deep and ask, and what happened? That investor, friend of ours, that recommended to invest on them, the day after we cash out the money, he arrived to the company, and he agreed with the CEO that he is going to be an external consultant, delivery consultancy services, for exactly the same amount we have invested in. And what happened? That he was accepted also as a member of the board in that 6 months. The CEO didn't tell us. And he accepted himself his own invoice for exactly the amount of investment that we put there. Fuck. So again, question to all of you, because we were in a bad situation. Would you report him to the financial police or authority? No, because then the reputation is going to come to you also. You know, first of all, is someone in the ecosystem that everyone knows. Second, because then if we report to the police, we are going to get also that kick, not good kickback, but bad one. So this is another fuck up, like a double fuck up. Fuck up because we lose the money, because he himself got it, but fuck up also because you find yourself in that, what should I do? Should I report him? Should I let him run free in the mountains, getting money from other startups? So it's not easy, not easy. So yeah. Anyway, the solution in the end was like we sit down with him and we made him give back the money. Yeah, and he accepted. So yeah, so that's it. Both of these fuck-ups are based on what did happen in the Nordics. In the Nordics, we are very good people, but we are very naive, because the whole system is based on trust. So both stories are based in good people with good intentions, playing in some way with failures that you cannot control sometimes, but as you see, failure sucks, but gives you great stories and perhaps help us to build more unicorns in the Nordics and be a real success case, not just the per capita one. And that's it. Thank you for listening. And yeah, this is me, so come to me and talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita, for your story. And now I want to remind you to submit your questions to the speakers. Couple of seconds for you to scan the QR code. And we're moving to the third speaker tonight. He's already here. Meet Paris Thomas, who is the CEO of Talent Hacks, as well as a co-founder of Rapid Visual AI, as well as many, 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 many other things about which he will share tonight with you. Welcome on stage.
Thank you very much, Maria. If you've done so many things that Maria is telling you you've done, you must have had a lot of fuck-ups, and that's what I'm about to share tonight. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm CEO of Talent Hacks. It's an AI-powered learning and development agency. I'm also running Rapid Visual, which is an AI-powered business model architect. It's cool stuff. But I'm also a partner at a company called Strategizer, which is the company that's responsible for the invention of all the tools that especially you startups have been using, business model canvas, value proposition canvas. I helped co-author the value proposition book, Value Proposition Design, which is a best-selling book in the world. I trained thousands of entrepreneurs, thousands of corporate innovators, participated in 700 startups so far, 7 of which my own. If Motorola is building a new phone, they're calling me, I'm in Chicago to help them. If Lenovo is building a new computer, I'm in Beijing. If Nespresso wants to build a connected machine, I'm in Switzerland helping them. So, what I do for a living is I teach people how not to fuck up. So naturally, I did. You know the saying that the doctors are the worst patients? So this is it. I'm really bad patient. I'm going to tell you the story tonight of Helicast Robotics. It's a story that begins with 4 founders, 1 genius idea, 9 cameras, GoPro, and absolute total confidence. And that last one is a recipe for disaster. The 4 founders. We have the one usual suspect from the video industry, because what we were building is something that has to do with video, and it's sitting right there. We had myself and my business partner, experts in strategy, business model design, talking to customers, all that stuff. And then obviously you need a technical guy who knows how to build the damn thing. And the ambition was to have a 4-axis stabilized gimbal with a remote control rover that can drive into shots and do 360-degree video. Netflix was going to buy them. It was going to be the most amazing thing out of space. The damn thing looked like NASA built it. So, we had really early praise, but no proof. In fact, early evidence at a trade show in Amsterdam, the most popular trade show in the world when it comes to virtual reality, VR days. We weren't even in the startup at the time, but our technical co-founder was there without anything to show, just having conversations until somebody said 360 video is trending. And it was going to take the world by a storm. Show of hands, how many of you have watched a 360-degree video in the last week? Now you know why it's a fuck-up. And we were convinced. We knew the guy, amazing, genius. And we said, yes, this is going to trend. This is something we should invest in. But what we realized was that trade show compliments, that's not validation. And then we started, by the way, this story is full of fuck-ups. Don't expect a climax at the end, okay? Every slide is a fuck-up. So one of the big ones was we basically dove into perfection, which does not signal progress. And I'm going to tell you a quick little story that begins with that person pointing at that metal disc. What you're looking at here is the actual rover that would drive into a shot, remote controlled. And there was an issue because that particular disc right there would create glare from the sunlight, because this was also used for outdoor shots. Well, when you have sun and you have reflection, you get glare, you have a lens, or 9, then you get problems in your video shot, and that's not okay. But we had to fix that. We really had to fix that. Instead of chase growth or validation or actually find customers, we had to fix the fucking glare. You could have put tape on it. We could have really put cardboard over it. No, we had to go into the anodization spiral, which was a process called anodization, which is when you take a shiny steel and make it blunt by passing it through prohibited, illegal, chemical, toxic compounds, which we tried to get from China, but we were not allowed to import in Cyprus. So what did we do instead of talk to customers? Talk to customs to figure out how to bring damn chemicals so we can fix the shiny issue. Not cool. Banned chemicals, weeks lost, 0 customers. But VR, as you might know, demands perfection. This is a video that we shot. Pretty cool, right? This is in 360, but you're looking at it in 2D. And what we need is that perfection, because that's what defines success, not. You can see some glitches. I don't know if you can see it or you think it's perfect, but in my eye, it's still not perfect, right? There's some, look at the guy. Oh, wow, there was something there. And then we had to figure out what was going on. Why is the video glitching? What's going on? Why isn't it perfect? We spoke to some experts and they said, in VR, if it's not 100% perfect, people get nauseous. They don't want to be in that environment. So we had 98%. We just needed that 2%. We chased that fucking 2% to make it perfect. And so what we did was, we had to find what was the technical problem. So we walked up and down the street, the same street, for days, trying to watch the same footage to realize why is it glitching, until we realized we got it. One of the 9 cameras was going like, right? But very mildly. I did it like that so you can see it from the distance. Imagine micro movements. And we go, why is this happening? We look into it. Too many cables, electromagnetic interference. And what's the next thing we naturally did? Well, we got rid of all the cables and put more expensive ones in, just to fix that glitch. Was it perfect? Fuck no. So we had to go to the next solution, which was, well, we're building hardware to make this good. What if we turn to software? Could we find a software company out there in the world that can actually help us get to perfection? Because Netflix, that's what they would want. We never spoke at anybody at Netflix. So we find a company in India, and we paid them money to actually stabilize our footage. We get the footage back, we put the VR headset. Fuck, it's not perfect. See, the thing is, we completely ignored the market. The most important thing I teach others is to go for market risk first, not technology risk. We completely ignored the market. We're so in love, tech geeks and all that. We're building a product. We're so in love with it and so in love with the idea of what this could do because nobody else was doing it. We completely ignored the market until one day we accidentally walked into it. The photograph is of a store called B&H Photo. Anybody know B&H Photo? There's some people who know where Mecca is when it comes to electronics. This is the biggest electronics store in the world. It is an entire city block in New York, and it's multi-stories. There's everything and anything. So to me, give me a choice. Disneyland, the moon, I'll go to B&H Photo, okay? And I go into B&H Photo, ironically, I was actually there for a trip with other startups that I was mentoring to help them find investors. And I go into B&H Photo, and there is an actual section on 360 video, a whole section on 360 video. And that's when I realized that there was a sales guy that knew everything. That fucking guy. If only I met him a few months earlier. You can see some products of competitors out there already. And the one here almost looks like ours, but way smaller. Way smaller. And he was telling me, well, but basically, first I realized, what does this guy know? Well, duh, he's sitting there in a VR section talking to customers all day long. The encyclopedia of VR demand was in his brain, which, by the way, it became my #1 advice to other startups. If you're building something, go find somebody who's selling something similar and talk to them, because they talk to customers all day long. It's their job. So I talked to him for like an hour. My wife is pulling me, you need to get out. And I go, okay, and what did I learn? Nobody cares about VR. Nobody uses VR 360 video. Nobody's buying this shit, and it's all going out the shelf very soon. And DJI and GoPro are building something revolutionary very soon. So I was just like, I didn't tell him anything what we're building. I was just asking, and he was just telling me stuff. I'm like, no. You think that's a fuck up? Wait until this. We got sued. Why? We didn't even do anything. Why did we get sued? Well, because before we got into the startup and invested into it, our technical co-founder went with another guy, a video guy, to the VR days in Amsterdam, and they had the name Helicas Robotics. So he said, I'm suing you for using the name of a product we had never sold. And what was the natural thing to do? Pay him out. And we bought a fucking name, Helicas Robotics, because it was so important to us. We knew, and you know how silly, I'm realizing now how silly this sounds, but when you're in it, guys, you need to listen to your mentors. We never had any, because we were mentors. So, we bought a fucking name instead of changing it. Yep, thank you. Yeah, I know, thank you. That was, it'll keep going, it's an animated GIF, so keep it up, no. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll change slide. So what happened? We didn't pivot, right? You have all these signals, nothing is happening, we're not pivoting, we're just convinced that this is going to happen. And by the way, one of the biggest fuck-ups here, this wasn't our full-time job. The technical co-founder, that was his full-time thing. The rest of us, it wasn't. We had other businesses we're running. I had another 3. And so every now and again, I'd be like, hey, guys, what's going on with Helicas? And then the answer would come, oh, we're waiting for the anodization kit. I'm like, oh, okay, check, right? And that's not how you build a business. If you don't deep dive into it and really kneel into it, you're not building a business. I realized that. My parents always said you kind of operate multiple churches. You're cheating one of them, you know the expression? Yeah. Well, I did. I was like a priest in so many. And so what happened was silent death. At some point, the calls never happened, no meetings, no emails. And just a few weeks passed by when we said, you know what? Fuck it. We need to close this down. This is ridiculous. Here's the good news. We went to the same bar that we went to on February 2017 when we made the deal between the 4 of us. We went to the same bar in September 2018, and that's where we celebrated our failure. We said, deal's done, it's over, we're still gonna stay friends, no hard feelings, it was everybody's fault, everybody was to blame. And besides the actual smoking failure we had, we also had something else in common. We all loved and toasted with 16-year-old single Scotch Lagavulin. The smoke of that thing was almost as powerful as the smoke that was coming out of the ass of the failed startup. So that was something cool. Now, this is what killed us. I've been filming with it the whole time. Both me and you in perfectly stabilized, beautiful 360 video. And look at how tiny it is. No gimbal, no rover, no nothing, right? Technology solved it, AI stabilized this, everything is perfect right now. So that was a moment in time I wish I didn't live, but you know what? I've learned so much about it, so why not? I learned that ambition is good, but market traction is so much better, so much better. By the way, this is a shot of the same company, Insta360. This is exactly what we aspire to build. This is the 35,000 euro solution for Netflix. But then again, 360 video, who cares? So, yeah. Talk to your customers, not just your friends, or you'll end up anodizing steel for ghosts. Thank you very much.
So, thank you so much for your beautiful stories, all so different, but also painful and funny and very insightful. And we have a couple of questions. So the first one is, what advice would you give to someone navigating through failure at the moment? We can start with Paris.
So any failure, what advice would I give them?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, it's cliche. There's nothing that teaches you more than feeling the pain, right? And so you can learn about failures from other startup founders. You can go to FuckUp nights. You can listen to until you do it, it doesn't get solidified in your brain, right? Advice is great. I give it all the time, but then I did the same mistake, and I'll never, ever repeat it again. The advice, though, when you are experiencing that, so don't be afraid of it. I think chase it, but fail early and fail cheaply. Okay? That's the thing, is don't fail fast, fail cheaply, and when you do, take a deep breath, realize that you're gonna have to go home, get in the embryonic position in the bed, cry, because it's a pivot, and it goes backwards, right? A lot of work just been erased, and then 3 days later, I think it's a pattern I've noticed, 3 days later, you'll be like,
And you start again.
yeah, I know, you'll kind of go, there's a learning in that, I'm still alive, I'm here, I'm grateful. You go back to your kids, your family, and you go, okay, let's do this again. And that's the word we use. It was the buzzword of 2024. It's called resilience. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Any advice from you?
Well, which type of advice you can give to someone that is failing? You know that some investors, we don't invest in startups unless they don't have been bankrupt at least a couple of times. So perhaps the advice is fail. You need to fail. And then you need to meditate, think about it, and build something completely different, and don't go to that failure anymore.
I love that. You don't invest with them until you know that they've been bankrupt a couple of times. That's insane.
Because this is a sign of resilience, as you said, and also it's a sign of having this entrepreneurial, soul. Yeah.
That's an amazing insight, actually. What do you think, Tom?
I'm kind of wondering if, 3 days is roughly how long it takes to run out of tears.
is what you're
It's when your tear ducts
implying
go,
there.
you know what, I don't have any more for you.
Yeah.
It depends. If you are Nordic, you don't have tears even
Yeah.
in the first day. Mind
I'll,
it.
I'll take a slightly different direction. So I know, at least for me, when I'm in a failing position, I have a hard time thinking through that spot, which means for me, I need outside help and people to be able to talk to about what's going on. So my recommendation would be to quickly get help and advice. I remember a time when I lost my largest account, so I talked about like winning my largest account, I also lost it. And that day, I mean, literally I had to cut my company in half. But I was around this, it happened on the day after I met with my CEO group, so I had a bunch of peer advisors, and they're like, today you jump on a plane and you fly out to see if you can get that client back. I had a bunch of other people that weren't in a chaotic position to be able to provide real live feedback to help me when I was like in panic mode. So I would say have people you can lean into if you're in those positions.
So another one question coming. Any advice on when it's time to quit and when it's time to push even harder? Whoever is ready.
I don't know. I would say keep track of your mental health. That is the time. It doesn't depend. I don't think that is universal rules for quitting or staying. I think that it depends very much on your mental health.
And do you believe in something like intuition? Do you think that it matters also, this feeling, that feeling when you're...
Yeah, but your intuition can be fucked up also. No, but what Tom said is right. Be surrounded by people that you can trust and you can ask and you can... But don't come to Scandinavia if you want to have that. Because no one is going to be around. I know, I don't want to be critic, with North Europe people. But the reality is that in the Nordics, you are educated to be independent, to not ask for help to anyone. Yeah. And that's why perhaps, Anyway, yeah.
So one more question to each of you for tonight. What's one thing you want the audience to take away from your stories, from your fuck-up stories? What's one thing you'd like to take away the audience from your fuck-up stories?
I'll go first with this one if you like. I mean, yeah, the message is there, talk to customers, but what does that really mean? There's something behind that. It's really easy, especially in today's world where building something is actually even easier than before. We're looking at all these tech companies, AI, using AI tools to write code. There's two advice you'll get. Don't build anything until you actually get some traction from the market and you talk to customers. And there's a lot of experiments that we advise people to do. One of the most popular ones is called Wizard of Oz, where you basically pretend that it's working, but behind the scenes, you're the one doing all the manual work, but the customer doesn't know that, right? That's great stuff. I've seen a shift in the last 3 years in the mentality of experimentation because I've always advised people, except for my fuck up, to not build anything, right? And like 5 years ago, the biggest thing, or not 7 years ago, was chatbots. You go to websites and you see chatbots. And I'm working with like pharmaceutical companies and big enterprise. They want to build chatbots. And I'm like, no, you just have a dude responding, pretending they're a bot until you prove that this is adding value. And they go, wow, you saved us money. Today, it is actually ridiculously easier to build, especially if you're software as a service, infrastructure as a service, anything with AI, it's ridiculously easier to build a proof of concept or MVP. So my rule that I have now with my company and Rapid Visual specifically, which is an AI company, if we can build it in less than 2 weeks, build the damn thing. Because there's other learnings you get. Even if you haven't gotten any feedback from customers, there's a lot of new trends now in build and and share with people. So maybe build it in front of people. Live stream while you're writing code. There's so many things you can do that will get people to, and we've been doing exactly that, just basically building stuff and putting it out there. And 1 out of 12 features in the last 3 months went viral. I'm like, okay, but why did it go? Because we started building it. So I'm almost kind of having it depends on where you are. Sometimes don't build it, sometimes actually build it. You have to figure out what's right for you.
Thank you so much. Rita, for you, what's your key takeaway from
Tom.
the fuck-ups? Okay, Tom.
I talk too much already.
So many. I do. I'm a really big fan of the have people around you that are smarter, faster, quicker, and capable of speaking into you. It saved me so many times to have a circle of people around me like that. If it's other CEOs, if it's just other people, if it's any of that stuff. But even the point that I made on the hurricane situation for us is be willing to make the hard decision. If there is a slow bleed that's going to kill a company when the owners aren't willing to make a decision, the hard decision. And if you have to go to B&H, go to B&H to get the feedback and be able to pull the plug if that's the way that it has to go. But make a decision, because keeping my best friend on the company as long as I did was not the right decision. Since we've been sitting here, I got like 4 other stories. But it's like, make a decision, otherwise you're going to kill yourself and the people around you. You're not doing anybody a favor.
My takeaway is very simple. As I said in the beginning of today, when I was talking about use the best of both worlds, there is no winning formula for things unless you don't incorporate and mix the cultural differences, unless you don't mix the best and the worst from different worlds. So my takeaway from my FuckUp stories are, please, Scandinavian people, don't be so naive. Trust more your gut feeling. I know that you call us South Mediterranean too much, too aggressive, too passionate, too whatever. But I think that the winning formula is a little bit of, both sides. So this is my takeaway. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Thank you so much.
Can I add something maybe before we close? Because we do have a startup audience. In the question you mentioned before about when do you know when to stop, I was attending my wife's then girlfriend's graduation. This is years ago. And the keynote speaker was a renowned psychologist called Terence Roberts. And he said something that to me has actually guided my journey in entrepreneurship. He said, don't worry about what the world or people think of you. It's what you think of yourself you should worry about. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about that, because they say you can't lie to yourself. And there's that little gut instinct and that little voice that goes, what you're doing is wrong, but you choose to ignore. That's when you know when to stop. As soon as that voice shows up, it's game over. Done. Get out.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't trust so much Nordic people, but you should trust yourself.
Yeah, but you need to know how to speak to that self. Yeah.
You don't need to trust so much Excel tables. And more let you go with the emotions.
AI might help you empathize more.
No,
You shouldn't trust it. Yeah.
Remember, I'm not
Not
Nordic.
you, the Nordics.
Yeah,
You represent
exactly.
them.
I represent them. Yeah. But come to the Nordics and talk to my colleagues.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, thank you so much for tonight. I think it was great.